try not to get too fired up because I know you're gonna get pretty angry talking about this. But I want to know what are the dumbest policies you've ever heard of, whether they got put into place or not. But you've heard things get pitched. Like for me, one of the dumbest things I heard was some I forgot what socialist wing was trying to do this, but they were arguing that that in a factory, right? Let's say you have a factory. They were saying that the product of the factory should be owned by all the workers. So like everyone should own the company that works for the company.
That's crazy. I
know. I thought it was extremely stupid. And it was just obviously some college kid was like talking about it, saying that, yeah, like it makes perfect sense that if you work at a factory, you should be an owner. Like you shouldn't just be paid a wage. Everyone should be an owner.
Well, that means, are they willing to risk capital? Because it's like,
I don't think he had it thought out at all. Like it was just the dumbest. I've just never heard something so dumb. Because then they were just like, who's gonna, like, what about the guy that put up all the effort and money and time to start the business?
Or
like
the guy that's only working there for 1 year. How do you own 1 year of the product?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's fucking turnover all the time. Not everyone's a fucking lifer at a company.
It's very true. This kid was basically, and I know that it's an entire ideal that has a bunch of functionality behind it. I can't find the salvaging feature of why that makes sense.
Or what if like the CEO did some shady fucking shit, right? And the whole company's getting canceled. So everyone's shares go to zero too? When everyone else is innocent and it's just the fucking CEO that's like going to Epstein's Island or whatever.
And like, how is your job as like an assemblyman, whatever, like, or a guy that's on the assembly line, like putting stuff together? That I'm not saying that's a shit job, that it doesn't pay well, but like, how do you make that equal to the people at the very top that like, you know, had to do a bunch of shit to get there that probably were working your job at one point? Like, I don't understand how that just becomes like, you know, socialist heaven across the board.
Is what this guy's looking for does exist. There are companies that like if you work for however many years, will start giving you shares, not equal shares.
Yeah, not equal shares.
But you can earn shares.
Yeah, like a lot of accounting firms work this way, where you become partner and then you work your way up, and then like, yeah,
it exists. Like he just has to find something like that.
Saying like everyone should have an equal. Like it should be equal across the board for everyone involved.
I mean, a lot of it is like, I think well-intentioned, but a lot of them are just college students that are naive and they don't really understand how things work. So a lot of socialism is rooted in like thinking that people that own the company are evil oppressors, and then the workers are like the benevolent exploited people.
And it doesn't make sense to me. Like the conversionism of it also is odd to me. It's lost on me because I'm like, how do you take things that are prosperous as they are and be like, now we're going to make it socialist and it's still going to be successful? Because it won't. But then like, if that's your ideal, why don't you build something from the ground up that has that feature and prove that that works?
Privileged. They don't have the funding. They don't have the access. They don't have the resources.
Yeah.
So that's, I think the difference in like, let's say like a socialist takeover, it turns into a controlled economy, right? So we've seen this before where, for example, the Soviet Union, they didn't have many options because they're against capitalism. They're against competition. So like if you go to their store, you have one option for bread. You have one option for cheese. And it's government owned, right? When it came to the States, it's capitalist, so there's a bunch of competition and there's free commerce. So you have 10 options for cheese, 10 whatever, right? And then so
you could buy the black owned bread.
What ends up happening is when you're in a controlled economy, which is more communist and socialist, there's no reason to evolve your product. There's no reason to make it any different. And I could make an argument where there is a toxic side of capitalism where there's so much waste and there's so much overconsumption and you don't need 15 kinds of butter.
Look at Shein.
Right. Yeah, and it's just wasteful. But on the flip side, there's always like a issue with scarcity and not having enough, and then like the production's bad. People aren't motivated properly in a socialist system. They're always going through, people can say, yeah, well, that's the trade embargoes and all these issues, but no, it's because they're not motivated to produce enough to supply to the because they're not making enough.
There's another issue that I recently kind of was like reading more about. Have you heard of like the concept of like donation damnation? How it's like when you have countries that are struggling or trying to develop, like let's say some small towns in Africa or whatever, and you just keep on giving them shit.
Oh yeah, you destroy their economy. Yeah.
Economy, like their farmers get put out of business. They can't have clothing makers because they have too much clothes from the fucking States, and you're just giving them a bunch of shit, and they just are gonna grow dependent on it. That's an interesting thing. Like
Well, it's because it's like it's kind of like shortcut activism where you do more damage than good because you want to feel good. There's so many examples. There's one example.
feel satisfied.
They did like an egg fundraiser thingy for this African country, and they destroyed their poultry industry because they flooded
Those are locals owning those markets. Yeah.
So like it was like a church, or it was like well intentioned because they wanted
Right.
feed them.
Yeah.
Then they fucking flooded the market.
Yeah. And drove down the value of their own products. Yeah.
Egg businesses, chickens, they're just like, I can't even sell my fucking eggs because you guys are giving it to all these people for free.
Yeah. Same like with the Gates Foundation donated like insane amounts of mosquito nets, and then they used it as fishing nets, and it tanked their own fishing industry. Yeah.
One of the stupidest laws that pissed me off is the taxing unrealized gains.
Yeah.
That is, I don't understand that at all.
Like I'm like, what the fuck? Because now it's like, let's say you got someone that
Can I
fucking
write off my unrealized losses then? Because fuck, dude.
you have
Bullshit.
like, let's say you got like you got 20 grand. It grew to like, let's say 40 grand. So now you have that 20 grand of unrealized gains. So if you have to tax that, now this guy has to sell his shares to pay for that tax, and then so he ends up losing money, and the whole point is for it to like ride and let it grow. So it's like, what the fuck? Like he didn't even sell it, like you, and now you forcing him at the end of the year to pay the tax on those gains. It's crazy. It's like almost selling the money you don't have to pay for these taxes.
Isn't that also bad for inflation because it's just creating money out of thin air too? Like you're just like making money appear, aren't you?
That part I don't know. But for the taxes, I'm like, dude, that's fucking.
Because like, let's say you had something like, let's say you had $200,000 in an asset, right? And then the tax year came and lapsed, and you have to pay a tax of whatever 200,000. But then the next year, the value of that drops to 10K, right? So you're kind of fucked out of that money that you had to pay when you taxed the previous fiscal.
We deduct unrealized.
Yeah, but then because you can't, then that means that didn't that money just kind of like
There's more money in the supply.
yeah, it's like a genie just went and created like money because of stuff that people own on unrealized gains. I don't understand that shit.
Like, how do you tax an event that a transaction didn't happen? So, for example, like it makes sense to me if you realize a gain, meaning you cashed out your earnings, that you're getting taxed on that because now you cashed it out and you have it in your possession.
Oh yeah, that's the important part.
So it's like you cashed out the 20K and now you can, you know, you get capital gains or whatever. But if they're gonna tax your unrealized gains, then you cash out and you get taxed again for capital gains. You're getting fucking taxed on basically a non-transaction, and then you get it's just too.
And it's like cracking the piggy bank. If the piggy bank is even separable. So stocks way easier, right? But let's say you have a fucking 60s Camaro. You bought for 30 grand. Now it's worth 50 grand. So you got to pay 20 G's of capital gains tax. If you don't have the capital gains tax, you got to sell the fucking Camaro to pay for it, else you go to jail, right?
When you win a Camaro on Price is Right, you got to pay the tax.
Yeah. So now you sell the Camaro, you pay the tax, you have no Camaro. You're like, what the fuck?
And on a system that was incentivized for us so we could make money and build wealth, and they're immediately just taking that away from us.
Well, I do get that. Like the reason, I'm sure the motivation to do this is that so they can regulate who gets to do it at all.
Yeah. They're usually pointing at like billionaires or whoever.
But we getting fucked over it, you know?
Yeah, because that's not going to happen to Pelosi for sure. They're going to have some kind of weird loop where like they don't have to be taxed. But then the weird thing is that the people supporting this are the tax the rich people that are like just mad about that because they're not playing that game. So they're like, well, I'm not going to be hurt. I want all of you to be hurt, but then that doesn't stop the elites from doing it. And that whale game is infinitely more than anything of a regular homeowner's playing.
They're actually shooting themselves in the foot because most of these people have like 401k and all that. That means you're fucking yourself so hard.
That were passed down to them. Property that was passed down from generations.
Speaking of property, that's one tax I don't understand is property tax. I feel like once you pay off your fucking property, it should be yours. Why the fuck are you paying taxes? And because this has been happening in California too. The property tax is based on estimate, right? So like, let's say grandpa got his place in the 1960s and shit, paid off his home, whatever. And he's retired. He has no income, right? This is happening in California. A lot of people, especially in like black neighborhoods and stuff like that, retired seniors can't fucking pay for their property tax.
They can't, yeah.
They're like, yeah, like when I bought this place, it was like $90,000. Now it's 1.5 million. It's being estimated to current turn. Like now they got to pay like tens of thousands of dollars that they don't have. And then so they're forced to sell. And they can't even die in the home that they fucking bought and pass it down to their kids. They just have to bounce. And I'm like, that's robbery.
That exact thing you described, it word for word, happened to a black family I met in Windsor Hills. Exactly that.
Sounds like it's by design. It sounds like it's intentional.
But then that's kind of like why the poor stay poor is because like you can't build generational wealth with this kind of bullshit. But like if he was able to pass it down, then it's like now what used to be a poor community can now become a rich community with the same local residents instead of being gentrified.
Right. And the gentrification cycle just continues.
Yeah, because who can afford it? Like East Coasters that are rich that come gentrify LA and shit, you know, or whatever. Yeah.
The crazy thing too is the inheritance tax that California now implemented. You know, where you can't pass your house down to your kid unless you pay a shitload of money to do it.
It's tough.
And they have to move in within the year, right? That's what I think. That's what the rule is. You know, if they don't move in within the year, then it's fucking up for grabs.
But that's even if they can afford to
Exactly,
move in. Because
exactly.
you run into a situation where the property tax like 20 G's a year. You're like, dude, I can't even afford to move in. Oh, then you're gotta have to sell it now.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, what the fuck?
So they're forcing people to sell all of their assets and homes for like
Reshuffling the deck.
not even what they could get max value on. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I just think
Move back? You guys sure?
I'm pretty sure.
You know another dumb policy? The policy that they fucking did in was this in Argentina or something with a forest? What country was it?
Argentina.
Argentina, a new policy just kind of came out of nowhere where after a forest has been burned, you can build property on it after a certain amount of time. And then guess what happened?
Wait, you're telling me Patagonia's on fire?
Magical fires appeared overnight.
You were getting like riverfront properties?
That was a dumb fucking policy and they just let that shit happen. It's crazy. I mean, they didn't let it happen. There was nothing they could do. But that was a pretty stupid policy.
oh the mileage tax, that's a stupid one.
I don't understand that one.
That means if you drive more, the more you drive, the more you
pay in tax.
You already pay that. If you drive more, you pay more gas, right? Yeah. When you pay more gas, you're paying more tax. You're
Bro, you know how
doing
expensive
that.
you know how expensive insurance is in California? It's ridiculous, dude. Like people are just opting out of insurance because they're like, I can't afford the monthly fucking premium.
It's bad here too in Nevada, and that's why there's so many, everywhere you drive, you'll see people with no plate. No plate, you know, no insurance. You get in a vendor better in Glendale, good luck, bro.
Cover that yourself, my boy.
Yeah.
adult problems, yeah? We didn't worry about none of this shit 10 years, 20 years ago.